Guys, thanks for watching. This is our Elevated Voices podcast. I'm very excited about my guest today. He's someone I've known literally my entire life, but from a business aspect, he's one of the best you ever want to meet. And the reason I want to bring him on today is to talk about how you can grow your business, grow your firm by using the possibility of a business development company that can step in and help you to grow your business from a fractional standpoint. And so you're going to be able to explain it better than me. Matthew, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rollis, for having me. Appreciate you allowing me to be with you today.
And since you're going to be able to explain it better than me, I'd love you to kind of explain what is it that your company does to help clients?
Basically, what Adolphus Resources does is we are a fractional business development company. We go in and we help small to medium-sized companies. We really help them develop their sales team, their sales strategy. I mean, every company, they all start with great visions. Hey, I got a great product, great service, all these things. How do I get it out to the masses, And a lot of them are a little deflated when they realize not everybody's as enthusiastic about what they have as they are. So then they're a little dejected. Hey, you should like this. This is something. So we come in, kind of look at it, help them rebrand themselves, help their sales team understand how to get into certain markets, as well as their marketing team, how they can utilize some of the great things that you've mastered, Rollis, LinkedIn, some of the other social media platforms that they can help utilize as a part of their tools to get their name out there.
You mentioned a point that I want to just get your take on. When you're working with these businesses, and when you say small business, first of all, when you say small businesses, give me an idea of the size of the company, roughly, when you say small business.
Well, when I say small business, usually that varies nowadays. I mean, I'm working with people everywhere from, a two-man team as many as 100 people, what I call kind of small to medium size. So, I work with everybody where the owner is also the marketing and sales guy to where they have a full team of 30 people working for them. So it's kind of varies in between there.
And would you say that most all of them are in the same industry, or are they in different industries?
Actually, a lot of them are in different, majority in the same industry, but I do kind of venture outside of the oil and gas industry.
So what you do, even though it's primarily oil and gas, it can translate to pretty much any industry, would you say?
Oh, 100%. I think the principles of sales, marketing, and business development, they transcend into any industry.
Okay. So here's my question, and I've kind of come into this on the recruiting side. Some companies feel like if I just get more people to know about my product or service, then that's automatically going to bring me more sales. And so they're wondering, how can I get more brand awareness? When in actuality, in some cases, it isn't necessarily brand awareness. It may be that their product offering isn't as strong as it should be, or there's some other missing piece. From your perspective, is it usually just brand awareness alone, or is there something else that perhaps haven't fully vetted as to why more people aren't taking a hold, whatever that product or service is? I'm just curious, is it more brand awareness thing, or is it the offering? What have you noticed?
In a lot of cases, it's a combination of the two.
Okay.
If you look at it, Ross, of course, if your brand awareness is huge, I mean, you got some big mega giants out there where you just see their symbols and you know exactly who they are. You're kind of excited. Oh, wow. The arches are here. You see the check, the shoe stores. Whereas I think for brand awareness does get you to a point, but also have you established that brand awareness as a top tier quality product or service, because you may think getting the brand out there, but the people who are using your brand already, are they as satisfied? Are they speaking as high about what you think your brand is? So, it's kind of a combination, not only branding, but also following back up on the service side. And I think that's a kind of a key where most companies kind of miss the mark. They have great branding, great sales guys, but are the customers they're selling to as happy as they think they are? Are they getting that feedback?
And have you also seen a situation where the company is offering something, maybe the pricing is perhaps too low or it's too high? I'm curious on that.
Pricing is a lot of cases have been the biggest point. Generally we're very proud of our products, services, things, technology we come up with. So we tend in some cases to outprice the true value of it. Hey, this is going to change your life. Trust me, it's worth the price. But are we really looking at what the competition, what are they charging? Are there any things out there similar to what I'm offering? What are our major differences? I think the biggest key is most people think they have the best product. We have the best product. Well, why is it best? Prove it to me it's the best. How have you measured it to other people? And the price point may shoot you right out of anything. I mean, let's face it. Everybody loves technology. Everybody loves different services. I mean, we all love it until we see the price tag. Right. Regardless, if you say, hey, price is not really the major factor, a lot of cases it is,
Because get down what they have in the budget, right? And what they're willing to pay for it. That makes sense. Okay. So give me some building blocks. Let's say I'm meeting you for the first time as a client, because I actually fit within that range you mentioned earlier, my company. Then what are some key pieces of information you want to find out about that client to know kind of what direction they need the most help with?
Yeah, no, fun things I want to sit down and just kind of want to get to know them a little bit, what's their vision for their company? Everybody just comes in and say, hey, I want to grow. Okay, yeah, everybody wants to grow. Where do you want to grow? Which direction? How do you want to grow? Do you want to do a fast-paced growth? Do you want to do a slow-paced? Because, you grow too fast. If you're a small business, you may not be able to handle the growth right away. So are you prepared to grow in a certain way? So those are kind of things, what are you doing now to grow? Do you have a sales team? Do you not have a sales team? Are you utilizing social media? Are you not utilizing social media? What are the tools you're currently using? And now let's analyze that and see how has that helped you or not helped you, and what we can do to kind of change that around and kind of tailor a course just for you and your guys.
When you're doing this assessment, how often are you bringing into the mix things like creating networking events or conferences or attending conferences? Where do you think that usually fits within that whole scheme of things?
Well, I think right off the bat, I try to figure out, when they do some of these things, like we talked about earlier, price points. And they're like, well, hey, I said there's some great networkers events, some great conferences I think you need to be a part of to get your service out there. Well, yeah, kind of expensive. We don't want to do that. Okay, but you expect people to pay your price tag.
Right.
Something comes with you want to grow. I'm not saying you got to break the bank, but you need to have a budget to grow. Sometimes just attending these conferences or attending these networking events to get your name out there. Let's face it, probably statistically, maybe 75% of the businesses out there fail just because nobody knows they're out there. And and unless you're paying a lot of money to be the first search, and when people, try to look for you on the web,
right,
you're not going to get that recognition either. So getting out there, spending a little money to get your name out there never fails. So those are one of the first things I try to think, what are you doing currently? If it's just a lot of cold calling, let's face it, how many of us answer phone numbers that we don't know?
I certainly know.
Exactly.
I have a new screening mechanism. When I got my latest iPhone, I turn on this thing. I don't know if it's available on my old phone or not, but I love it. It screens the calls automatically. So when they call in, it's a number I don't recognize, it asks them to identify themselves and why they're calling, and I'm looking at that before I even answer the phone.
100%.
If it's somebody I don't know, I'm not going to answer it.
And you think about those, some of those, I would call them, affectionately antiquated methods. When you can really set your sales team vitally in the right way, you get true leads that they can call upon, not waste of time making, 50 phone calls a day. And,
right,
especially if they leave a voicemail, now you really get blocked. Because now I know exactly what you're calling for. So I know I'm not to answer that number there. So we look at a lot of those little different things. There's so many things that I don't think a lot of the business owners understand that these are free. Webinar. You can do a webinar and reach a mass. Anywhere from 50 to 200 people. 30-minute webinar, you get that kind of clientele, and it's free.
Right.
Right. It doesn't cost you anything. A little time and making sure you have the right data that you want to share with everybody. But these are some of the things I don't think people really realize that are very vital, especially in today's age when technology is key to a lot of things.
Right. Let's say I'm one of your clients and I want to do a webinar. I like your idea. All right, let's do a webinar. What are some of the main things I need to take into consideration when preparing to do a webinar?
When preparing to do a webinar, in my mind, I think you need to focus in on one or two key topics that you really want the audience to take away from. You don't want to hit the whole bridge because now people don't understand, okay, what do they really do or what are they trying to push? So you want to really focus in on one or two key parts. And one, that really has the audience focus in on those things. Oh, I didn't realize they offered those services or those technologies. Two, you can stretch out a whole portfolio of webinars if you hit one or two things at a time. Now you can do 5 or 6 webinars throughout the year versus just one because you're trying to get everything. So now you got, I think one of the key things that most companies really fail to understand is being regular is something that really helps build your brand,
That's so true.
Right? One webinar and they don't hear from you for the rest of the year, like, but if you do one a quarter, now people are looking for it. Okay, when is that next webinar coming out? Where can I find that? On top of that, now you're building where people are registering. Now you're getting phone numbers, email addresses of true contacts versus a cold calling situation.
One of the things that social media creators that have been very successful, what they say time and time again is consistency. And that goes back to what you said about being regular. I think that's a great point, not just with posts on social media, but also with your webinars. If you're going to do one, decide to have 4, 5, 6 of them.
4, 5, 6. And I mean, because think about it. What is the most valuable thing we have that it can't be replaced in most cases? And that's your time. You know what I mean? People, they will take time. So you have to, one, plan out your webinar, exactly what you want to get on, because you're asking people to dedicate a portion of their time to listen and tune in that they can never get back.
That's it.
So that's why it's so important. And then if it's regular, now they're anticipating to spend a portion of that time once a quarter to tune in again. So to me, it's very important. Regularity is huge. It's one of the keys to really sustaining, not only getting your brand out there, but sustaining your brand.
So what it sounds like to me is a major mistake that someone will be making when they're going to do the webinars is just doing one. They need to do several of them and be regular with it. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, how many times have you, I'm kind of crazy, see a Netflix series, something, they do one pilot episode and you never see them again. And you're like, I liked it, but I really, it was great, but they went away. They disappeared. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, business world, regularity is everything. And you don't see some of the top name brands.
Yeah.
They have certain commercials they hit all the time. Where like certain sporting events, they don't just do it one time, you never hear from them.
Yeah.
Part of building your brand is making sure people not only recognize it, but also know the meaning when they see your brand and see that, whether it's a symbol, a logo, whatever it is. You want that to be regular in everybody's mindset.
It's interesting you said it about the Netflix thing, because whenever I'm looking through and Netflix gives you these different suggestions and it's a TV series, if I look at the TV series and it's from a few years ago and there's only one season, I'm generally not going to spend my time.
You're wasting my time. It's like, man, I'm going to get into this and anticipate the next season, but I already see it's not there. So you're right. And that's, whereas, I generally the same way. I look for ones with multiple seasons because now I can invest my time into something that's going to, I know that's going to be ongoing or give me at least a decent conclusion.
Right. Exactly. This is great. I love it. So, it doesn't matter really what the industry is, whatever industry that they're in. If they're going to do webinars and decide to do webinars, just make sure they've already have a series of what they're going to do.
Exactly.
And not just plan on doing one or two.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
One of the biggest things too with the webinars, I think a lot of companies have a false sense of fear with some things. They think, well, I don't want to put too much out there. Somebody may copy me. I don't want to give them too information. Well, guess what? People are going to copy you no matter what.
Right.
It's better to be the first out there than second or third out there. So it's best. It's one of those things I like to always bring out. Hey, you can give people the playbook. They still have to stop you. Don't fear giving information, because it's usually first to market wins in most cases.
That's a good point. Yeah. If you already have that fear, then you're already losing the game.
Already losing. Look at some of our things we use down south where we grew up, where you spent a lot of time. Everything's a Coke. When you go to the store, they say, hey, what kind of Coke do you want? Yeah. And that soft drink, Coke, their brand is out there. Hey, give me a Sprite, or, that's generally how it's called, a Coke. So you got to be the first one out there. Don't fear, somebody's going to copy or take what I have. Just do it better.
One of the things that I've always noticed about you over the years is that you are a very prolific networker. The way you network with folks, even when we grew up together, you were a networker. And then fast forward your business career, you're still a networker. So I wanted to give me some building blocks. What are some things you would coach me on as a business owner, if I'm your client, on what I should do from a networking standpoint? What's the right and the wrong way to network?
Well, first of all, networking, again, kind of like we talked about with the webinar, you got to have a plan when you go into network. I look at it as I'm going in a network, one, to build my portfolio of people I know, people I can possibly help. The other thing is I'm going in there on a mission to find out who best fits people I know already in my network, because it's always great to know people and connect them together. In this industry, as bad as it may seem to some, you want to be pretty much an influencer. You want to help people get to know each other. I'm never one of the smartest guys in the room. I leave that to people like you, from the technology, the engineers. I'm just a guy to put people together. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. They go into networking events, look at what they can sell right then and there. Well, first of all, if you're going to a networking event trying to sell, don't go. Because you're not going to sell it. If they buy something for you, you are a really, really good salesman, and you don't need to be, you need to train everybody else if that's the way it goes. A networking event is to make those contacts. You follow up with opportunities to sell. Well, it's just getting to know everybody. I see so many people get pushed out of networking circles, so to speak, because they shake your hand with their business card in it. How do you know I want your business card? We may not even match, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then after you realize we're not a match, you take your business card back from you. Okay, now you just lost. So that's kind of one of those things. I genuinely I have a passion for connecting people. I think, we have so many great people in our individual networks. They do some of the best things out there. And a lot of times it's just matching them with other people who can either utilize what they have or help them increase the value of what they have there. So I love getting people together. I think it's, lack of better words, I think it's kind of my superpower, man.
So that's an important lesson. I appreciate that. Where you talked about how sometimes we want to get to the selling part too quickly when we meet someone at a networking event.
I think the first thing in a networking event is just that, networking. Hey, my name is so-and-so. What's your name? Oh, that's great. You live around here. What do you do? This is what I do. Let it be natural. Don't just, hey, my name is Matt. This is my product. Can I set up a meeting with you tomorrow? Who has time for that? Is there bad dating?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. There's a lot of companies who I would imagine need that kind of coaching. Do you coach them like on the job, like when you're actually at a networking event? Are you connecting people together? Are you doing it for them? What are some of the ways you've kind of helped companies to network?
Well, both. I think one of the benefits, and then I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually a great question. A lot of people say, hey, well, I have my own sales team. Why do I need a fractional guy to help me out? Why do I need a fractional guy? Well, first of all, I'm all over the place. I'm probably way more places than your current sales group. They probably focus in on one area, one or two different industries. I'm all over the place. So I'm networking everywhere. And I'm constantly meeting new people. So I may run into somewhere where your group never thought to look. You're a networking event for one industry, never thought they may have a need. Hey, I got somebody who does that. Let me introduce you to them. And the other thing is, training how to work the room without being a nuisance. How many of us really like to deal with salespeople on a full-time basis?
Right.
Most people avoid salespeople. So you don't want to be that guy in a room where now all of a sudden they're avoiding you. You know what I mean? You're there to network. To me, networking events is kind of an area where you go in to find out, you kind of observe what's going on. Let me see who's in the room. Let me see who can use my services. What is everybody's common need? Because everybody goes to networking events, for the most part, to find out how can I successfully offer my product or services to people. Do they really need them in this social event? Maybe I'm in the wrong area. Maybe I need to find another area. So it's a lot of things. I've seen a lot of people, rush to judgment. Hey, this networking thing isn't great at all. I didn't sell anything tonight. Well, you went with the wrong attitude. You wasn't supposed to sell. It's networking. It's not.
Right.
It's not QVC. But
Yeah. This is an interesting point you're hitting on, because what I call sharks or hunters, the ones who are the closers, right? They don't have a lot of time for the hand holding and the relationship building. They're wanting to close a sale. And so I think if you have someone who has that kind of aspect, that perspective going into a networking event, they may get frustrated very quickly.
No, 100%, Rollis. I think you got to look at a networking event is tied to not only building a network, introducing yourself to new people, finding out what they do, but in a lot of cases, that's where you may run into current customers you're doing work with. Your time, there might be a great time. Hey, I never had time to spend after hours time with this customer. That's where a client service person comes in to play. That person loves nurturing that relationship, really making sure that customer is happy, or providing everything that you thought or that you signed up for, or we make them happy. Is there anything we do better? The salesperson usually isn't interested in that. He's interested in, okay, well, this person bought from me last week. Let me find somebody else to buy. You know what I mean? So
He or she.
he or she, and which isn't a bad thing, because salespeople, if you're building a sales team, they're key. That's your first round pick, is a great salesperson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where you build your team. They're kind of like the quarterback of your sales group, a good salesperson. You just got to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I think a lot of times people put those salespeople in bad positions. It's kind of like having a pocket quarterback and drawing up a whole offense for him to run all the time. It's not a good fit at all. So those are key things I see where most companies make their mistakes.
And also what I'm thinking of naturally, if I've got a smaller company, like you said, 2 to 100 employees, I may feel like, well, I want to hire a salesperson that can do all those things. That's really the case. Generally,
Rarely the case. I mean, you're looking for a mythical unicorn in most cases.
Yeah.
Not saying that they aren't out there. They,
Right.
you know, a lot of times you have strengths and weaknesses, and you really want to put people in position to key on their strengths.
Yes.
More so than trying to get them to fit in those round pegs.
and this also helps me to think of why some type of fractional situation would help me, because maybe I have a salesperson, but I don't have a good marketing person, or I don't have a good client associate person, or I don't have a good networking person. Maybe if I had a way of maybe just using something like that on a part-time basis, and maybe I have one full-time salesperson. Is that something you've seen quite a bit with your clients?
Yeah, no, they bring me in. I mean, I'll wear their company logo shirt. I mean, I represent you at these networking events, and my whole goal is to bring opportunities to your salespeople. If I'm in a networking event, I'm meeting people, and you have people there, it's my job to get you in front of them, make sure I make that introduction. Again, a lot of times, people really don't put the value in that client service person that I feel is very, very undervalued. I mean, that person is usually the glue. I mean, the first person to ring the alarm if there's an issue to get that salesperson back. You know what I mean? The first person to tell everybody where our brand isn't as vibrant as we think it is. We need to go back to the drawing board on some of these things, guys. But it's also an expense. So instead of spending a full expense on that person right after that, you bring in a fractional person. I mean, that person comes in and works hand in hand with your sales team, throws them well-qualified leads versus them hoping this person is somebody they can do business with.
Yeah. So if you had to break it down, what are like the different levels of salespersons that a 2-person to 100-person company should think about? I'm thinking there's got to be a closer. You want someone who can close. Maybe that's the business owner. I don't know.
No. You definitely have.
What are the different levels?
Let's look at. I think every strong team has a minimum of 4 tier.
Okay.
5 is exceptional, but you're looking at. I mean, you got to start. You know, your salesperson, he or she, is kind of your quarterback. You're having a strong salesperson to be that person to get out, really meeting with customers, really doing the demos, things of that nature. Once you get that strong salesperson, pair that person up with a strong marketing guy. That guy works with the salesperson to build the brand. The salesperson's out seeing things, seeing other competitors, what they're doing.
Right.
He works with the marketing person to build a brand. How do we get it out there? We need it more visible, those kind of things. And once you get those established, I think you need a real strong client service person. While the sales guy is out there, beating the pavement, looking for new opportunities to push the products or services, the marketing person is, they're doing the websites, the webinars, the cool logos and getting promos out. Your client service person, that's the one doubling back, making sure the customers that you currently have are happy. What can we do to better our services, our products? How can we increase, the sales with current services people? And that's where you jump in right off the bat with the 3 tiers. And again, now you add on, maybe as you grow, you add a strategic person in the mix. This strategic person kind of guides the marketing and salesperson where they go by looking at from an analytical standpoint. Hey, the market's down in this area. Let's focus our talents over here.
Right.
You know what I mean? And as you grow, that's your 14 members. Now you need like a general manager. So that's where you come with a director or VP of sales and marketing. He kind of controls the whole pot. He's kind of the man to make sure everybody knows the roles they're playing, where their strengths are, so they can guide them better. So I think, a strong team consists of way more than just one person.
Right.
But you don't have to jump into the fire pan right off the bat. You can build that team as you grow it and see that success.
So what considerations would a business owner or the principal of the business, what should they keep in mind as to which of those 4 or 5 tiers they do first, which ones that they perhaps fill themselves first, maybe as a start, and then they add on the fractional person or persons to fill the other slots?
Well, right off the bat, I think you start off with a strong salespeople, because you can't get a marketing or client success person if you have nothing in a pipeline. You got to fill a pipeline right off the bat. That's the essentialness there. You got to have a salesperson that's closing a few deals, because without that person, you can't afford the rest of the team. So you guys kind of like, you got to have that main face, that guy that's out there building a pipeline. And as he builds a pipeline, now you can kind of okay, now let's give him all the other tools I need to make it even bigger.
So do you see in a lot of cases, though, the owner of the business or the principal of the business ends up being that salesperson at the very beginning and then having those other people around her? Or do you think they should hire another salesperson first before adding those other pieces?
I think in a lot of cases, the owners or the founders usually start out as a salesperson because, usually they're just starting out. So it's kind of the ground level. I think they should hire that salesperson right off the bat. Not that they're bad people. I just think that in a lot of cases, in the technical industry, sometimes the founder and owner is so technical, they just go right over the head of most of the people they're trying to get to. Whereas a salesperson kind of sells on their level, look at what their pain points are. I see most owners is so excited and happy to get their products to you because you need it. They tend not to listen much. They tend to talk more than they listen, Not that that's a bad thing, but that's just not their skill set.
Right.
Very few owners have that skill set to be able to go in and be a really, really good salesperson.
And then maybe the person who developed that product or service, they're so close to it and they're so into explaining, like you said, that they're not listening to what the customer is really wanting. And so having that other person who knows how to ask those questions and also be able to see how the person's responding to that product or service and then acting on that. I could see that.
100%. I mean, how many times we go somewhere and, for instance, you may go buy a car or something, you don't feel like the salesperson listening to you. You're telling you on a white car with a sunroof and they send you to a black pickup truck. You're like, hey, dude, that's not you. But hey, we got something great on the slot for you. So those are kind of the same things. In his mind, he's putting you in the perfect vehicle.
Right.
In your mind, you're like, you're not even listening to a word I said. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, sir. So it's a key thing. And again, I'm not saying, a lot of times small businesses getting started, the owners, he's a technical guy, he's a sales guy, he's also the accountant, he's doing it all. But as you build those tiers, once you really want to get to the next level, you start to develop, hey, I need a sales guy really strong to get in there. And that's one of the things where I think people are mistaken the fractional situation. I'm not a sales guy for you. I'm a guy that connects your salespeople.
I need to have a salesperson already.
You need to have a salesperson already because there's things that your fractional BD people don't do for you.
Right.
We don't follow up. We don't, make the phone calls and then follow up and set the meetings up. Right. All these things. We do all the initial connections, whether it's initial meeting, lunch, breakfast, dinner, and then we turn it over to your sales guys to cultivate it and then close the deal.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. What's an ideal situation for you when you come in? Would you rather come in with a company that already has a salesperson and hasn't hired the client services person and the person who does the networking and the marketing person? Do you typically like to come in at that point, or is it later? At what point or stage are a lot of your clients engaging you?
A lot of times I think clients are engaging me usually in the beginning. Before they hire the salesperson, if they're a really small company.
Okay.
And then that's where we kind of got, hey, this is what you need a salesperson now. Let's get some get you to interview a few salespeople that fit. Because not just finding a salesperson is the key. You got to find somebody that's in sales that also fits your culture. Not all salespeople fit culture, as I can say. You got some that are really aggressive, more that are not so aggressive. So you got to find the right salesperson that meets your company culture, first of all. And then as we go from there, I've learned, had my ups and downs being a fractional BD person, that I realize I help you better when you have a sales team or when your plan is to develop a sales team.
Okay.
You're not doing yourself any good if you bring a fractional person in and expect them to be your salesperson, not only make the connections, follow up on them, close the deals. That's not what fractional people do. Now you're looking at a full-time employee.
Yeah, exactly. It's not fractional, right?
It's not fractional at that point. Okay, look, there's a price for everything. We can make them permanent. Yeah. Usually the benefits of that fractional person comes in when it does that. And those guys can be very beneficial because you have a strong guy, a salesperson, and that's one thing I really, really tell. Don't go after the sales guy that you have that has the best reputation. He's a closer. Make sure he fits your culture because there could be a very cultural clash that can also hinder whether or not you're successful with that situation as well.
Give me like a client, maybe like a client success story, an example of a client you were able to connect with and you're able to kind of substantially increase their business. Just kind of help us to visualize in our minds how you could perhaps help our companies.
I worked with one business owner. She was already doing really well in one sector. She brought me on because she wanted to diversify. She's like, hey, I got your number for somebody. Saying you can help me. Kind of sat down, figured out what she wanted to do, what she isn't doing currently. So from there, first thing I told her is like, you know what? You need to go to a conference with me. It's a totally different industry with you. Come to a conference with me. Let me show you how I would work a conference versus how you would work a conference. She went to one conference with me. right off the bat, she probably made over 50 different connections with one conference, which were
Wow.
not selling right there on the spot, but she made, those were all separate individual meetings. So she had almost 2 weeks worth of meetings to go set up and attend from the one conference.
Nice.
So those are the things, instead of looking for that one home run out the park they're ready to buy now, set up a lot. You're just trying to get to first base with these networking events. You just get in first base and go from there. She increased her LinkedIn followers by 3-fold right off the bat, which is a big awareness for her group there. And I think she's already set up several opportunities that she's already doing business with some of the guys. Just by, conforming the way we do networking and getting into places. I think, conferences. A lot of people don't like to go to conferences. They work conferences wrong. You go behind your booth, you set up this fancy booth, table, you put your widgets out on the table, and I want somebody to come walk by and talk to me. Well, that's not the way, who has time to walk by? Unless I know what you're doing, there's 100 exhibits in here. I may not even make it to you,
Right.
Having a booth is extremely important, but that's your home base. You get somebody to sit back there and say, hey, look, you get your salesperson needs to be walking the room, working the room, bringing them back to the home base where, hey, look, here's some information. This is where you have everything, not expecting. I see everybody say, hey, I had a horrible conference experience. Nobody came saw me. Well, why would they come look for you?
Right.
What makes them come look for you? You got to be out there bringing them to you. And those are the differences in some of the things I work with salespeople on, because I think in a lot of cases, they don't understand, you have to sell the way you buy.
Mm-hmm.
And not many people do that. They totally throw that out the window when it comes to selling their own products and stuff.
Give me an example of that. Sell the how you want to buy. Give me an example of what you mean when you say that.
Well, I work with some customers that sell their products and was kind of wondering why it wasn't moving the way they thought it should be moving. Well, I looked at their price structure. I was like, well, you got your margins are too high. You're way overpriced for what you have there, and there's competition. Well, ours is the best on the market. I'm sure the other person are pitching the same thing. Yeah. Now, do you look at price before you buy? Yeah. Well, that's a different story. No, price is a big part of what you buy for your consideration. Well, no, you have to sell. You have to understand the consumer is also price conscious. Mm-hmm. They're also looking at the price situation. Right. And should I spend extra? Why am I spending extra? Yeah. You got to look at those things. And I think we all look at prices before it pays a big. We look at what we want. Is there something at a cheaper price cost and giving the same value? Our customers do the same thing. And yes, as a salesperson, we don't just buy the first thing off the shelf without looking at the price. We look at price, we consider, and then we make a logical decision on that. And I think that's what a lot of people miss out on.
I think it's a great point, because there are times when, we've got our product and service, we make it the best it possibly can be, but we're not considering what is the customer's other known alternatives. What's the best next alternative for them?
100%.
Maybe it's what they're currently doing. Maybe it's another competitor or competitors. And what does that pricing situation look like? That makes a lot of sense.
Unless you have experience working with those people, you really don't know. I can tell you I have the best service, but if you haven't worked with my competitor, now it just comes down to pricing. Yeah. Now, experience may be worse when you come back to me, but is that a chance you're willing to take? Right. If it is a great experience, they're never coming back to you. Hold on, stop.
That's true.
So it's like, it just depends. And I get some people so stuck on the value, and I'm not diminishing their value of their product or services. They're so stuck on what they think the value is, they don't consider, what is that same value? Does the customer have that same value where I'm trying to offer them?
Okay, so you give us a lot of building blocks on this. What are some things you do when you first engage with a client in terms of them even knowing if you're a good fit for them or they're a good fit for you? How does that look? How does that work?
Well, first of all, I that's where we go into, like I brought earlier, kind of seeing what their vision and goals are. What do you currently have? What are you currently doing? I'll go in there very honest. Hey, I am a business development, networking aficionado. That's what I do for you. I get you in front of the right people, get those opportunities for you to pitch whatever your service or opportunity is to the right person. Right. It's your job to close. If you're looking for me to close and do all these things, I'm not a good fit for you. You know what I mean? If you want to give me a quota and tell me what I need to do I'm not the good fit for you.
Right. They need to get their own internal
They need to get their own internal salesperson on that. Now, what we do, we can meet every week, work on targets, look at where you want to be, who you want to get in front of. That's what I do for you. But when it comes to that, you have to have your sales team. I will help them meet their goals and quotas. But if you're looking for somebody to bring in and substantially add to your bottom line by closing deals. That's usually not what a fractional does in most cases.
Will be a big benefit for me. Let's say I've got a 50-man company, a 50-man and woman company, and let's say 5 of them are salespeople, and I need someone to help make sure that these salespeople are getting the amount of leads that they need to get. They're able to kind of grow their own book of business, and perhaps maybe a little bit of management there. Is that somewhere I can engage a company like yours or your company?
100%. We sit down with you and help build those targets. Hey, how do I know my salespeople are actually working or actually getting things in? So we build those KPIs that you can check on a weekly basis. Hey, let me see how many bases did they touch base with? What kind of conferences did they go to? What was the ROI on that conference I just spent $10,000 to sponsor on? Those are the kind of things that a lot of times, let's face it, most guys who are founders or business owners aren't really versed on the sales and marketing side of it. So coming in and help them, build out a few of those KPIs so they can check and know exactly what they're asking their salespeople for. Because, let's face it, most salespeople, if they're running the office all the time, you're probably not doing their job. So most people are out of sight, out doing their work. So how do you know whether this guy's driving around 8 hours a day or is he actually giving me value added his time there?
And now those who are watching, KPIs, explain what that is for them.
Oh, those are key principal indicators that you're doing your work there. You know what I mean? And those are things that you can look at on a daily basis. How many touch points does this guy make this week? How many lunch and learns did he actually do this week? You get the expense report saying that he spent X amount on lunches. What was he doing with those lunches? How many opportunities did he add into the CRM this week? Those are the kind of things that they're looking at from that aspect of it.
And we say CRM.
Customer relationship management software or tools that you use in those categories here.
Okay, right, very good. So words of wisdom, things that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your business development career. What's some advice you would give yourself?
One, I would say stay true to what you know your true skills are. I think when I first got in, I tried to be the top salesperson. That's just not what I do best. Can I sell? Can I close? Yes. That's not my true value I feel I bring to the team. Those are the biggest things, is trying to, create my own lane. Stop trying to sit in other people's lanes there.
That's great advice all around. That's key.
100%.
Thank you very much for being on the show today. This is awesome. I love the conversation. For those of you who are interested in learning more about Matthew and his company, Fractional Sales, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, hit me on my email address. It's mg@adolphusresources.com. Or you can check out my LinkedIn page, which again it's Matt Gobert. I love talking different strategies, networking. Those are my passions. So if you just want to have a general conversation, hit me up.
That's awesome. And in the description below, we're going to have a way you can link up with Matthew directly. Matthew, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks, Ross. Appreciate it, brother.
All right.